All right. How do you feel about like us doing this right now? Why is it weird? why why you say that?
No, it's just weird. Just sitting with all the lights
Yeah.
and microphone and
Well,
sharing
this
our
was
thoughts.
this was Lead's idea
Okay.
about you being the first guest, and it makes
Thank,
sense.
thanks. Thanks, Gino.
Yeah, but it makes sense, right? I mean, because it's you and me, right? Starting this off. So, um, I think it'd be neat for you to share. I don't think I've ever actually like heard you from your perspective, like how we met, even like honestly,
From
because
my
normally,
perspective.
yeah, from your perspective.
The first time or the second
No,
time?
the second time. They'll talk about the first time. That was second time was more
Okay.
formal.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
time. So what I remember meeting you, I was working for I was a student worker, I guess, and I was helping out in the front office
Mhm,
with um Miss Hanson, Miss
mhm,
Becky. There in the front, I remember you showing up.
mhm.
I remember sitting there because I used to sit behind her desk.
Yeah.
Um, and that's where I remember seeing you
Mhm.
the second time.
The second time.
I remember thinking you're very mature
Mhm.
because I said I was never gonna date anybody younger than and I guess A, my words right. You never say never.
Yeah.
I do remember
You
saying
were
that
17
I was 17.
and
Yes, if you want to clarify
I
for
was
everybody to
15.
know. Yes, you were 15.
I was young. You took my youth.
I took your youth. So yes, I remember, that,
Yeah.
and I remember telling him
Mhm.
like, man, I would have never date someone younger than I. They're always very if guys my age are immature. I
Mhm.
couldn't imagine guys
A 15-year-old?
a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
But it was always very different with you. Like,
Yeah. And we started pretty quick,
we
right?
did.
Like like a few weeks
Yes.
after. But would
After
you
leaving.
would you say though that like high school, like, yeah, we started dating in high school, but it was different like once we actually went to college,
Mhm.
or maybe once I what was in like senior year
The
or
turning point, like the
Mhm.
when I realized
Mhm.
like this is serious, kind of like
Mhm.
this is more than just like dating high school.
Yeah.
Oh gosh,
Mhm.
it gets to that part.
Okay.
Um,
Like when Oscar died? Mm.
yes, yeah,
So to you that was that
yeah.
changed like our relationship or
No, that like solidified it
Mhm. Mhm.
for me, right? Because it's before I was like, oh, I'm dating someone,
Mhm.
and it's always you don't know, right? Because you're in high school, and you're like,
Yeah.
hey. But when that happened, it's just seeing you, right? Like
Mhm.
when I found out that Oscar, I was in the hospital, Oscar passed away. You stayed with me so my family could go to the funeral.
Mhm.
So you didn't get to go to the funeral, right? And so
Mhm.
you stay with me so to allow my family to go. Because I remember my uncle was gonna stay, and then you're like, I'll
Yeah.
stay, I'll stay with you, I'll stay with her so everybody could go.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, like he didn't have to do that
Mhm.
first, right? Do that. And then, coming back from the hospital and I remember you took off from school. I
Mhm.
think that whole week they'd given you permission to miss the
Mhm.
school week. And I remember you going and just being at the house, like helping
Yeah.
around. And I remember you going to work at night. I think you
Mhm.
used to work at Joe's Craft Shack at then,
Mhm.
and coming
Mhm.
back and bringing food. I think food for me and for my dad, because usually that's who was up at
Yeah.
during that time was my dad and I. And so then you would bring food for us during the night. And so it was for me was that's when I was like, okay,
It
like
became more
it became
serious
more
for you.
serious. 'Cause I was
Yeah.
like, this, he just went through all this with me. He stayed with
Mhm.
me through all of this, right? And
Mhm.
I remember you for a while. I was in a wheelchair, so you would push me around outside. I remember outside my mom's house, and you would push me out in a wheelchair, and then that's um those are moments I like. You know what? This is serious. This is actually like
Yeah.
somebody I can see myself, for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Is that you stood there and I got to see you being a part of my family
Mhm.
without you necessarily being a part of it yet,
Yeah.
but you allowed yourself to do that, you allowed yourself, you asked for permission and got off of work, you would go to work, I mean school,
Mhm.
and then you would go to work, you'd come
Yeah.
back and you stay with us even more, make sure that my dad and I ate in the night.
Mhm.
And so it was, I think that's the moment when I was like, this is
Gotcha.
who I want to be with,
Yeah.
this is
This was the guy.
this is the guy.
And so, um, it be I think before this might be a little bit random, but, like, before that, I mean, there was nothing other like, another eventful situation that you had gone through, right? Like, prior to Oscar, and I think I that's where I can also relate that I don't think I had ever gone through something like
No,
that as
because
well too,
that was
you
happened
know?
when I was 18. Because
Yeah.
it happened. No, 19.
Uh, 2010, right?
Yeah, in
So
April.
then
So I was 9. So
you're
I was 18.
19, you're like 18
Going on 9.
going
No,
on,
no, I
no,
was a
you were
19.
19
I
going
was
on 20,
19.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, going on 20. But that was, I think I already like, I mean, and just tying that now into like how much would you say that that influenced like our careers and like where we're at now? Like for me, I knew that I knew I wanted to go into mental health before that. And I think that for me solidified like the career path of 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 that experience, and everything that surrounded that.
The transport. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know your path into mental health was kind of different because your dream was to become
Teacher.
a
Yeah. My
teacher.
dream was always to become a teacher. My dad was
Yeah.
a teacher in Mexico, and I've always looked up to him. And so,
Yeah.
since he was a teacher, I was like, that's my goal is to become a teacher.
Hmm.
And so that was, that's my goal. I didn't have anything else. That was just my goal. That's the goal
Yeah.
I had set in mind. But things changed, right? As um, I had thought about becoming, a counselor, and then I was, pursuing the education route, and that's when I began to kind of find out more things that
Yeah.
happened and transpired in the background with Oscar when Oscar passed away, right? Like,
So I know I kind of like jumped ahead a bit, but like what okay, so Oscar dies. Like how would you say like your process of like the grieving and like going through that, you know?
how was the process in when
Yeah.
what?
Like what was that for you? Do you feel like that's where because I know you took off from school for some
Yeah, I took
time,
off because
like
it happened in April, and I think it went back
mhm,
in June or July. They allowed me to go back and
yeah,
finish that semester,
yeah,
or because I was already at the end of the semester, so they allowed me to go back. But grieving itself,
yeah,
like my process of grieving,
yeah,
I don't feel like I grieved.
yeah, yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
I had to be. I had to be the tough one, right? So I had
Yeah.
to be the one, even though I had a broken arm, right? Even though I
Mhm.
couldn't walk,
Mhm.
people coming to the house, receiving them, and then time after time, right? It's like,
Mhm.
and so what happened? Tell us what happened.
Yeah.
And so it became more like just a story I told, but not
Mhm.
necessarily me grieving it.
Yeah.
It just became like kind of put a band-aid over it. I was like, oh, this is what happened. We
Yeah.
got in a car accident. I was driving. It was raining.
Yeah.
This quick, and it's like move on because
Yeah.
at the moment my mom was in a state of shock. She
Yeah.
sat there. She wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
She didn't do much. Um, she's just there. So I had to be. I remember my dad asking me, "Hey, can you help me pay the bills? Like you're the one
Yeah.
that helps your mom. Can you help me?" I remember writing checks. I
Right.
broke my arm,
Right.
and I had to write checks with my other arm.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to write with my left
Yeah.
and sign. And sign. And have my dad just sign it here. I fill them
Right.
out, send out the checks. Um, yeah, receiving people, right?
Yeah.
Be the one talking to them, and it
And I ask you that because I feel like just me being an observer of, as your husband, and I like I feel like you really started healing probably like 2 years ago, maybe up to now.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
in all honesty,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so I do see that you had to like put that, to the
I
to
had to
the
put it to the
side,
side.
and
And the one time I remember crying is when I was looking at a video of one of the
mhm,
last specials my brother had at church. I
yeah,
remember sitting there, and we're playing, and I was playing over and over again, and I started crying in my room.
yeah,
And my dad comes in, and my dad starts crying because he's seeing me cry, and I made my dad cry, and I remember feeling like I made my dad cry,
yeah,
my mom cry.
yeah,
I'm not gonna do that again.
right,
And I kind of like chose not to
yeah,
kind of suck it up,
mm-hmm,
and be like, move on forward kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. And I think like now, like for us now that we're educated, right, therapists, like looking back, like there was a lot of like dissociating, right? There's a lot of like numbing ourselves, right, and just kind of pushing
Yeah.
through, but like even with all of that, like, we continued to pursue our careers, like, we continued to right, to try to meet our goals because there was still purpose behind that,
Yeah.
I think, at least for both of us, right? And um so I graduate, right? And then you transfer from college and we both go to Southwestern, right?
Hmm.
And that's where you continue pursuing
My education.
your education uh
I always
career. And
had.
that was still the plan at that point,
Hmm.
right? Like you weren't thinking about being a
Nope.
therapist or anything like that. At that point I did. I thought, okay, I'm gonna go into mental health field and um that's where my mind was at. So what happens next, right? After we go to Southwestern.
I think that's where things I started finding out, right? I started finding out things like when they told my sister. I didn't know that before.
Mhm,
And that happened many years after when I
yeah,
told my sister. My sister was, I remember my sister telling me, in the room, empty,
yeah,
telling her, like, 11-year-old girl sitting there in the middle of the room, telling her, and then they walk out. She remembers the next person that walked in was a secretary to give her a stuffed animal and
yeah,
kind of comfort her. And even as a teacher, like, I was like, I can't imagine telling us in the moment, I was a teacher, I can't imagine telling my student, like, "Hey, your dad died," or, "Your mom
mhm,
died," or "Your brother died," or "Your sister died," whoever,
yeah,
and just kinda stepping out and be like, "Hmm, okay," and
yeah,
walking out, and it's like, that was the first hit, right? And then, again, later on, my dad's
mhm,
fixing the car of one of Oscar's, best friends, and the
mhm,
mom tells my dad there, like, I guess they were talking,
mhm,
about Oscar and about her son's friendship, and she's like, he actually didn't come out of his room for 3 days.
yeah,
Um, Later I find out, that his other best friend, when they heard, they told him in class, and they punched the wall. He punched the wall because
yeah,
he was angry. It's different ways of dealing with the loss, and they just kind of told him and just kind of like, okay,
yeah,
uh, well, and so those were instances that I was like, huh, there should have been someone there.
okay,
Somebody should have followed up. And then, but it wasn't until, like, I guess that was just in me, right? Just me thinking about it. But it wasn't until we went,
mhm.
we got married, and then we go to Southern.
Yeah.
Um,
1 week
1 week
after
after
we
we graduated,
graduate,
yes. So we
right? We
graduated the
get
next
married
on a Sunday, and then we got married the
the
following
following
Sunday.
Sunday.
um, there, and we make our way to Southern.
Mhm.
And I couldn't find a job because I was as a teacher, and I was licensed in Texas. I wasn't licensed in Tennessee, and it
Mhm.
was harder for me to find a job there.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here and do nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I need to do something. And I remember we had already toured, I think at that time, the
Um,
counseling department with you, and they
yeah.
had talked to me about, oh, look, just school counseling aspect of it.
Right.
Still education. And I remember going back, and I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. I
Yeah.
want to
And it
become,
fit well with
yes,
I mean, you
with
were
my
right.
the ideal role I had in my head as a teacher, right? It
Mhm.
felt like I was still in education system. I could still help the students out, I think, even at a
Right.
deeper level, now that I was a counselor.
Mhm. So, like, once you step into this, like, school counseling role, like, was that, like, an eye opener for you, or what was, like
Yeah, I mean, the first job, well, actually, where I did my hours, my internship at was very low socioeconomic schools, right?
Mhm.
A lot of drug use, and so that was me doing the internship, right? And then I get hired in the same around the same area in the Title
Yeah.
One school, too, and it's putting on that role of now, like, helping the kids, and it helped. Like, it wasn't just me counseling; it was me finding ways to help, along with the social worker there. It's helping them find ways to find, like, their basic needs:
Mhm.
food, water in
Yeah.
their home, right?
Yeah, I
Heater,
remember the
electricity, like,
crazy stories you would tell me of things that you would
yeah,
see.
and it,
At that point, like, would you say that, like, you were, like, Oscar was in your mind, like, once you took that role? Or, like, like, how
yeah,
much
he was there, but I think what really, like, even more, right, is when I had to tell a little girl. I don't even know. I remember. I'm sure I told you. I had
Mhm.
to tell a little girl that her dad had committed suicide in the front lawn, and
Hmm.
at the time I used to work in elementary school, right, and so it's the mom coming in and telling me, "Hey, can you help me? We have to let her know
Yeah.
before she comes home because she's gonna see all the stuff that are at the
Okay.
house."
Yeah.
And I remember, like,
Yeah.
oh, like, that's a tough thing to do. Like,
Yeah.
as a somebody who just graduated school, brand new first year of school,
Right.
and having to tell this child that, like, to help her. And I remember sitting there with the mom, right, to try to help her, and the mom
Right.
couldn't go through it, and so I had to be the one, like, letting and talk to her about that. I remember reading a book with her about grief,
Mhm.
and about the loss. But I remember that brought me back to, like, my
Mhm.
own loss, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to do. I
Mhm.
wanted, or my behind my thought, and I was like, I wanted to be that person to help students
Right.
through their own struggles, right, through their own grief, through their own losses, and so that, I think, connected it even more for me.
Mhm.
But my goal was always to come back
To what?
to Houston
Okay.
to serve the school that my brother was part of,
Yeah.
that I was a part of, that you were a part of.
Yeah. And we got that opportunity,
Yes.
right? But before we left Tennessee, we left from Houston just two of us, and we came back three of us,
Three of us,
right?
yes.
So that's where our Elizabeth, right?
Yes.
Also
Here comes
our
in.
surprise
She was definitely a surprise, yes.
surprise. You crossed that stage what at like how
She was
many
born June 8th, and
you
I think we crossed the stage May
May, so
10th.
you were like 8, 9 months already
Mhm.
crossing
I remember they
the
thought that
stage
I
with
was gonna
Elizabeth.
be give birth there.
Right.
So during the ceremony, they were like, "Remember, sit down. Are you okay? Do you need anything?
Uh,
Don't walk up the stairs. It's
yeah,
okay. They come down to you. I can walk. I'm
yeah,
fine."
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
no, they say that she graduated too with a master's degree
Yeah, she
before she
did.
was even
That's
born.
true. She did. So then so we come back here, right? And I think at that point I then graduated the end of that
Yep,
year. So
that's
you were supporting the
I was,
household.
yes.
You were, helping us make it through. And so then we come back to Houston the following summer, and yeah, right. At some point, then district counseling starts, right?
Mhm.
Um, and that
Yeah, because we came back in 2017.
2017, and so a year later we
Hmm.
started in a tiny little room,
Yeah, district
right?
counseling was
Just
just
for
you
counseling, just me,
and I
myself, and I.
and I.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Did you ever imagine that like it would be this big, like where we're at now,
I don't
or
No, I don't think I've ever imagined it being that big, right?
yeah,
I just imagined it growing. I just
yeah,
didn't know how much it would grow into.
right. I didn't think it was gonna get this big. I think like I just wanted to help people. That was it. Like that was the goal, and just finding other like-minded people that just wanted to help others. Um, and so I don't know if that's what was part of the blow up. I mean, I think there's other things as well too that influence that, but um, I think it was always back to just helping people find healing, right? Um, and at some point, right? And I know there's probably so many more details that we can keep going into, right? But at some point, you dedicate yourself for 7 years, right? To the school, taking role of a teacher, a school counselor. You're doing crisis management. You're doing all sorts of things, right? But at some point, you feel like, okay, like becoming a therapist is like the next goal, and
Yeah.
you go back to school, and you finish that up, right? um but I guess going now, like now that you're a licensed therapist, like you're seeing clients, and like you have your own grief story, like how much do you feel like that has influenced the work that you're now doing with clients?
I think it influences a lot, right? Um, and I hear it from clients, right? And with like when we're talking and stuff, and um, I feel like you can relate to it better on a deeper
Mm,
understanding. Not saying that if you haven't lost someone, you can't, as a therapist, you can't understand
yeah.
that, or you can't help your client. It's just I feel like I have that, or anybody who, not only me, but anybody who's lost someone close to them, that has that, knows what it feels
Right.
to lose someone
Yeah.
very close to you.
Yeah.
And you can I guess it feels like that
Y-
connection. You're able to
right.
connect with your client and put yourselves in your client's shoes.
And like you said, it's not like to offend like people that maybe haven't lost anyone, that they can't help other people, but like it's kind of, I guess the way I relate to it is like when we work with parents that have children, right? Like us being parents and taking on that role, like we just, you get it because you lived through it.
Yeah.
And I think clients can relate and make that connection. when we do that. So it sounds like it helps in that part of empathy and them feeling like, oh, she has her story of grief, and she can connect really connect with
Yeah.
me.
I
So
feel that's where it helped me, right? And like
mhm.
everybody's journey is different, right? Through grief,
Mhm.
everybody's loss is different.
Yeah.
You could have lost a brother the same way I could have lost a, when I say I lost my brother,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean our grief or our pain is the same.
Right. Right.
And so it's also learning how to like put that boundary up, right? To be
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, I can connect with you. Ooh, I can't,"
Mhm.
but it's like
Mhm.
it's not about me. I'm just the vessel, right?
Yeah.
To hold your emotions
Yeah.
and to hold your, your thoughts and to cry with, right? But
Yeah.
it's not there for me to also like, "Oh yeah, this has happened,"
Yeah.
and start like my own
Mhm.
um like if I was also, like as it's different when you're a therapist versus when you're in therapy
Yeah.
because I do both, right? I'm
Mhm.
in therapy and I also am a therapist, right? And so one, it's like as a client, when a client
Yeah.
comes to me, I'm their vessel. I'm the, you're allowed to cry with them, like
Mhm.
sob with them, be messy, right? The
Mhm.
messy part, and it's okay.
Mhm.
But as a therapist, you are there and you are their container.
Yeah.
You're the container for their emotions, for their thoughts, for anything
Yeah.
that they're going through. And you're helping them through this process of healing.
Yeah. Earlier ago, right? I mentioned that I felt like you started healing like probably like two years ago, right? And you agreed with me with that. And like, what do you feel has influenced like your healing, with grief?
So I feel like for me, an eye opener was again when I was at Swallow. And I just kind of put it in the back burner, but I was working there for the psychology education department, and the
Hmm.
psychologist there, I remember I was helping him. I was a teacher's aide for him too, so I would help grade occasions. And I remember sitting there
Dr.
and
Aldridge.
Dr.
Yeah.
Aldrich, and I remember just sitting there, and he's like, "Can I tell you something?" I was like, "Yeah." Um, and he just like said, like if I was in therapy, I guess looking back, I'm like, huh, that's kind of
Hmm.
like, and I guess I was having a hard day that day because he noticed it. So he's like, I
Yeah.
noticed something's wrong. And him telling me like, you smile so much,
Hmm.
but your smile, I can see behind that smile all the pain you have.
Yeah.
And I was like, it
Yeah.
caught me off guard because I'm there grading
Yeah.
papers, and I'm like, what?
Right. It sounds
Like,
like that was maybe a first time where you felt seen
yeah,
by
and
someone.
and it
Yeah.
was about me, and it felt weird,
Mhm.
right? Because it's always
Mhm.
been like, oh, me taking care how my dad feels, or my mom feels,
Mhm.
or my sister, right? My sister was 11 at
Yeah.
the time, so it's always I felt like I carried the role of taking care of them,
Yeah.
and while they were there helping take care of me, right,
Right.
physically, I don't think I was ever able to really explain
Yeah.
what it felt like, you
Right.
know, being the last person to see him,
Right. Right.
being in the car with him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, so that's the moment that I was like, maybe I need to um talk to somebody else,
Mhm.
because I felt hurt. You're right. Like I
Yeah.
said, because I felt hurt by him and I was able to talk to him like, yes, this
Right.
is my story. This is what happened.
Yeah.
Um, but it wasn't until, I think another eye opener was uh it was last year, 20, right? When the whole,
Yeah, the neurological
yeah,
issues
where
that you were
everything
having, yeah.
on the left side, went numb, I guess the best way, it looked
Yeah.
like I had a stroke. And that was an eye opener for me because also I remember talking to doctors and they're like,
Yeah.
there's nothing that we find
Mhm.
on the scans,
Yeah.
right? There's nothing there. Like you haven't had an aneurysm, you
Mhm.
haven't had a stroke, there's not
Yeah.
signs of mini stroke, there's nothing there to say to where they can pinpoint, hey,
Yeah.
this is what's wrong and this is what's
Right.
causing this. And it wasn't until talking about I came talking to I remember going to
Mhm.
Mexico and and talking to a naturalist doctor there, a doctor
Yeah.
there, and it does a lot about the
There's
natural
a lot of
remedies.
psychology
Yeah,
at that place, yeah.
and he's a psychologist
Yeah.
in Mexico, and then talking to him, right, and getting that, and he's like seeing everything that I'm sharing with him, and he tells me there, he's like, okay, well, all this thing could could be caused, and pretty much what it summed up to is like everything I've been holding on to and
Yeah.
everything I've been carrying
Right.
since that day
Yeah.
was affecting me till now.
Right.
Right, and then add to that the load of becoming a mom,
Right.
mom of 2 kids, like
Becoming a wife.
becoming a wife. and I
Yeah.
was going to school there. I think I had I was working
Yeah.
as a school counselor slash teacher. I was
Yeah.
doing 4 classes in one semester at that time too. I was doing hours at district counseling.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think all of that together was just kind of like,
Yeah. Yeah, we know like if you're not working stress is gonna work you, right?
yeah.
And
And
that's clearly what
yeah.
happened
And
in
I
that
feel like
moment.
that was another moment where I was like, talking to him and talk with that
Yeah.
week that was 10 days I spent over there.
Yeah.
It really eye opener to me to be like, hey, I need to take care of myself first because I
Right.
really can't help anybody else, no matter how much I truly want it or no matter how hard I try or where my heart
Yeah.
is at, if I don't take care of myself.
Right.
Because it was sucky that time where it's like, Elena, when are you gonna be able to smile again? They
Mhm.
would joke around. You remember Ellie
Yeah.
would be joking around and move her mouth
Yeah.
kind of to sort of like, "Hi, mom," like making fun of me.
Yeah.
But I know she was trying to like, lighten it up. But I know she's
Right.
also worried, and so that really made me see like I need to I need to do things for me
Mhm.
and to be able to help myself so that I can be there.
Yeah.
So that this doesn't happen again or to
Yeah.
prevent it as much. And part of that was my self-care, right, journey, and my journey
Yeah.
is it's to take care of that and it's to take care of my loss, something
Right.
that I hadn't processed that happened in 2010
Yeah.
that I just
Yeah.
processed actually at the beginning of this year
I think so,
in
yeah.
2025.
Right.
It's when I saw a therapist, that was recommended
Really
to
work
me,
through it.
and
Yeah.
just be able to sit there and work through it and like
Yeah.
talk about how I felt, talk
Right.
about what it was to lose someone, and talk about the journey
Yeah.
to heal.
Why didn't you seek help earlier? Like sooner? Why wait until now? And I know like there were moments where like I would encourage you to go and you didn't want to, or there were also moments where I honestly didn't want you to go as well too. And we can probably go a bit into that as well too, but like why not
Because
sooner? Yeah.
I think because for the longest, I just put a band-aid over it, right?
Mhm.
And so become a mom, it's like I'm in the back burner.
Yeah.
My family goes first, my kids go first,
Yeah.
guys go first, and so it's like, just like I'll deal with it eventually. Or
Yeah.
maybe if I don't think about it or if I don't deal with it, then I don't have to accept it,
Yeah.
right? Or it's like, or maybe if I accept
Mm.
it, does that mean that I'm gonna forget about him?
Yeah.
Forget the loss and forget him.
Right.
Like if I move on, does that mean I'm
Yeah.
forgetting him?
Right.
And then think for the longest, I would hear conflicted messages from people, right? From close families of mine, and be like, "Oh yeah, what if you?"
Yeah.
So that does it mean you're healing? Does that mean you're forgetting about him? Does that mean you're gonna forget?
Yeah.
And it's like it was an ongoing battle,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it was learning, right? Eventually, and I think that was behind my mind, right? So it's like becoming a mom. Everybody goes, they goes first, I go last,
Yeah.
and so I just put myself in the back burner, just kept pushing, like I was pushing this whole time.
Right.
It's like has been doing
Yeah.
since 2010. I've just been pushing forward and leaving it behind and not processing it. And it was until that I was like,
Yeah.
I gotta talk about it. I gotta do something about it. And it's
Right.
like learning to accept that grief
Yeah.
is forever gonna be a part of me.
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna go away.
For sure.
It's not. You're not gonna forget. I'm not gonna forget about my
Mhm.
brother. Right? He was
Right.
with me for 15 of years. Um, he was the middle child, so I felt like I was closer to
Mhm.
him than I was to my sister.
Yeah.
He would go on dates with us.
Yep.
My
You're
parents would send he would
chaperone.
say he was chaperone with us. He would say, he would go on dates with us. I remember him like strongly not liking it, but
Yeah.
looking back, like I appreciate that
Having
now
those
that I
moments.
got
Yeah.
to have those moments with him.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
he got to see our relationship, but then also like we got to spend that time with him and be able to
Right.
be close to him in that manner. And those are moments that I'm not gonna forget, right? And those are moments that I
Right.
learned that grief doesn't mean I'm forgetting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Grief just means
Yeah.
I'm learning to move on. Doesn't mean I'm moving on without him. It just
Yeah.
means my life now has to move forward without
Mhm.
him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm forgetting about him. He's still part of me. He's forever gonna, be in my brain, in my heart. I'm always
Yeah.
forever gonna miss him. It sucks. All these different events that we've had that
Yeah.
he's not a part of. But it doesn't mean I'm not allowed to feel joy again. Or I'm not
Right.
allowed to, rejoice in the moments that I've had.
Yeah.
The grief is I guess now it's like I'm learning that grief is going to be a part of me. I have to live with it,
Mhm.
And it's like the I guess the biggest thing I learned is like it doesn't mean I'm forgetting. It just means
Yeah.
that I'm trying to move forward.
Right. Right.
It doesn't
Right.
mean I'm letting go.
For sure.
And I feel like that was the biggest thing for me to bring to my healing, right? To
Hmm.
become now it's like for me it's reaching therapy. So when I had it, I was like, I'm done. I hate feeling this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some obviously something's wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
And like I said, I mean, I saw right away, like from after session one, and I mentioned to you that I was a bit hesitant about you going to therapy, right? And I guess processing and reflecting, like why, right? Why would the therapist husband tell his wife, like, I don't think you should go to therapy, and I think it's because like you and I are firstborns, right? And with that, like we feel the weight of our family a lot.
yeah.
And so I think I took on a sense of responsibility, right? Like for your pain. And
Mm. You know what we did forget? Tissues.
we're gonna make it. um
I would hand you a tissue, but
yeah. I guess I felt like if I was failing, you know, like, I should have helped
but you did.
you.
You did. You know, you were my support through it all.
Yeah.
Um, Literally, I feel like I was empty, right? The whole time. I had to be numb with everybody else. I couldn't show anybody what I was feeling.
Yeah.
I had to suck it up. You know, and with you, I remember being vulnerable and sharing those moments of like, this sucks. Hey, I can't drive anymore. I don't want to ever drive again. I don't want ever to see someone next to me in the passenger seat.
Right.
And you were the one that's like, you got to move forward. We're going to do this again. And I'm like, I can't. I can't. And you were there, the one that pushed, and that motivated me. So you didn't fail me. It's you were there to support me. And it might have felt for you, right, as a therapist. And I guess also the firstborn is where you got to take care of everybody and you kind of put yourself in the back and you try to
Right.
fix everything, which is another thing I learned. Like, you can't, as much as you want to fix everyone and everything, you can't.
Right.
And you also got to see all the effort that you do, and not lessen anything, because right now it's like I feel like I failed you. You didn't feel like you might have
Right.
felt that way, right, for me seeking therapy, but it doesn't mean you failed me.
Yeah.
Because there those moments like those that I could put on like concrete where it's like, come on, let's drive. And I remember I'm like, nope, let's
Yeah.
sit. I remember
Yeah.
telling you, let's sit in the back,
Mhm.
and you're like, no, I'm gonna sit right here in the passenger seat and we're gonna drive.
Now I tell you, when's your next therapy
Oh
session,
yeah,
right?
yes. Now you tell me like, so
You
when are you
should go
going again?
twice. When are you going again?
You need to go again.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
um,
So I mean we can go in a bit of like two therapists, right? Like being married and what that's also like, right? And what is it like being married to a therapist and you being a therapist as well too?
it has its pros and cons, I guess.
Yeah. What's
Right.
the what are those cons?
Cons. There are moments when we both
Yeah.
say like, "Hey, I'm not your client," like,
Yeah.
or it feels that way. It's like because you know the techniques or you know how to help in that moment,
Mhm.
and so what comes out might feel like, like you would get as a therapist. When
Right.
you the guidance and
Right.
but
Yeah, I think the other part, the con, is that it's easy to burn out and like our job is to empathize all day, right? Like all day, every day, and then when like we burn out from empathy
yeah,
as well
and when we
too,
come home,
right?
we are
Yeah,
less yes with each other.
empathetic. Yeah.
That and it's also like for me, I guess it's just that it's like I know you mean well and I know you're
Yeah.
trying to help me and like, but I'm like I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Like I don't
Yeah.
want a therapist. I just want a
Yeah.
husband.
Right,
And so now
right.
I remember now you tell me, "Do you want me to" what did he tell me? Now, do you want me to help?
Do you want me to, do you need an answer or like yeah, like pretty much do you just need a listening ear or do
Yeah.
you want like
Do you need guidance? Do you need
a
help? And so
suggestion or
and so
yeah,
now you tell me, what do you need? Do
yeah,
you need me to help you or do you need me to just listen? What
yeah,
do you want?
yeah,
And I think that's helped me because it's like, no, I just want to be able to vent with you. Like it's
yeah,
just I don't want you to fix anything. There's nothing you
yeah,
can do about it at the moment, right? It's like I just
for
want to
sure.
be able to tell you that this sucks or like,
Yeah,
this case today I had, like,
yeah,
and it's to be able to be raw and like
right.
all day I have to put up a face, right? As like
Yeah,
I don't see myself as an owner.
yeah, yeah,
I get reminded I am,
yeah,
but I don't
yeah,
see myself as an owner. So but it's still having to
yeah,
put a face, right? To like not
right.
show them that
Yeah,
anything's wrong,
right.
to have to be like, I'm fine, I'm doing
Yeah,
well. It's,
yeah,
smiling and like
right.
when you work with kids, it's putting like, you feel the crummiest you felt, and it's like, all
Right.
right, I'm
Yeah,
here for you. I
put
gotta,
it
move on. And,
mhm.
and at home, I could be like, this
Yeah,
sucks.
yeah, yeah,
Like, this is how I felt today, or this
yeah,
was a trigger for me today. And it's like, that's really has helped me when I'm like, hey, I just
yeah,
want you to listen.
right,
Or like,
right,
hey, you know what? No, I need help. I don't know what to do here in this
for
situation. Or what
sure.
would you do this? And I feel like that's
Yeah,
a pro to, right, being a therapist,
yeah,
because you don't take it offensively when I'm like, I want you to fix it.
yeah,
Like, it's just
yeah,
okay, I get it. You just want a listening ear. Or
right,
like, okay, now I can provide,
yeah,
guidance. And as it feels like a therapist that helps us understand, like,
for
okay,
sure.
it's not that he
Yeah,
doesn't want me to help him. It's just that he just wants me to listen to him at the moment.
right. I guess what and also I didn't, make that other connection, right? Because it's not only like being therapist, but also like having to run a business as well too. And I mean, it's it is a seven. I try for it to be 6 day a week thing, but it sometimes bleed into just all 365 days a year.
Hmm.
And so I know that for sure can sometimes be
Yeah, and that's
challenging
something
for
and
us.
I've learned, right, as a wife, right, and I
Hmm.
wasn't a part of that. I
Yeah.
was a part of it, like, and that's where it goes back to me like not feeling an owner, because I was a part of your journey, right? I was there
Yeah.
with you when you started it,
Yeah.
but I wasn't a part of it.
Right. At the
Because at
beginning
the
of
beginning,
it.
right? Because
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
in my school teaching
Yeah.
role. So while
Right.
I was there with you at night, and
Right.
decorating, or I was there with you at night figuring it out, or sitting with you,
Yeah.
doing things, it wasn't like I had a hand in it until now,
Right,
until I
right. Well,
left.
I think you're more direct.
Yes.
Because I would disagree with you. I think you definitely were a part of it from the very beginning, whether it was like decorating or like organizing the space, or even me when I would ask you suggestions, what your thoughts were. Like that was to me, that's you being a part of it as well too. And on top of that, I don't think the income that I was making at the beginning. So if anything, you were the first investor into
and,
this
and
practice, where we're at now, right?
but
Yeah.
it's also learning that, right? And it's also like, and I think our journey, right, to where we're at now also helps us, putting it back into counseling also
Yeah.
helps us understand our therapist. It's like, I know what it means to be the wife of an owner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I went from the role of just being a wife of an owner, right? Because I was at the kids, it was,
Yeah.
it's me, the kids, because you would be working late nights, and it's me teaching, right? And it was just, that was my role.
Yeah.
And it's like understanding that that was your role of, hey, you're gonna stay late at night when you first open. I remember you working till like nighttime, right?
Right.
And it's like, hey, I had to, as the business grew, it's like, okay, I had to understand that phone calls will come and go
Yeah.
at all times
So you have to like, yeah.
of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, 10, 11 o'clock, sometimes you get calls.
Yeah. So you have to share your
I have to
husband
share,
with
him
yeah.
and being able to understand understand that part, right? That it's like I get it, and I
Hmm.
get, and especially when they call at night, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening that
Yeah,
they're
because it's
calling
normally
now?
a crisis
Because it's usually like
situation.
you get
Yeah.
a text where it's like, hey, I need your help now.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
being able to understand, like, hey, I have to pause whatever we were doing, whatever we
Yeah.
were talking about, to be able for you to transition from being a parent
Right.
or husband to you be like, okay, like, what can I do to help you?
Right.
Okay, what are we gonna do
For
now?
sure.
And it's like, that's where it gets back to being, as a therapist
Yeah.
role, it's like you're able to understand your clients when they're like
Yeah.
maybe couples, you worked a lot with couples.
Right.
And so I feel like that helped you understand even more because you can understand both roles.
Yeah. And working with couples also makes you a little paranoid too. But we can go into that some other day. But I think with us both being parents, right? Like our kids too. That's another pro that we see is that they're super emotionally like in tune. So I think as we're just kind of closing up, for our first ever talk, right? Ever episode. Like, I think a lot of neat things, right, to reflect on. I mean, the fact that you talked about your sister, right, about Michelle and her, being told in a way about Oscar's death in a way that's, super maybe can be perceived as we know that they had good intentions, right? But can be seen as really cold and not the way to maybe do it, right?
Mhm.
But just how life, now she's a psychiatric nurse practitioner, right?
Mhm.
Like she also went into
Yeah.
into mental health. And so I definitely think that was a moment that gave purpose to what Michelle and I and what we do today. We want to help people that are hurting, and that's what this is about. That's what district counseling is about. That's what Mind Shift is about. That's what this podcast is going to be about as well too. Is it's about just how do we continue to help more and more people.
I think that's always been, from day one, that's always been the goal that we had, and it's like, don't ever push anybody away,
Mm-hmm.
and no matter if they don't have the money to pay it,
Yeah.
it's finding the way to help them out, even
Yeah.
regardless of, it's meeting the client,
Yeah.
meeting kind of like the person that you have in front of you
For sure.
was meant to be in front of you at that moment.
Yeah. I think to kind of close up, right? I mean, any other thoughts that come to mind or like reflections that, you know, that you want to share or
No, I think just the number one is just that, right? That's the mindset we have, and I think this mindset we've had from the very beginning is that the person in front of you, and it's as a therapist, right? So
yeah,
that when I'm sitting in your shoes and
yeah,
whoever's sitting on this side, they were sent there for a reason, and you're there to help them the best
right.
way you can,
Yeah.
and not turning them away.
Yeah.
You're there to, it's like they were somehow ended up in our
Right.
office.
Divine intervention,
Yeah,
right? Divine moment that there exists.
they're
And
there, and
yeah, and I think to like just reflecting on like what we've talked about today, it's that like our pain, right, is it that moment doesn't get to just like doesn't freeze time, like we don't have to get stuck there, but like that we can shape and make something purposeful. And so I think that if Oscar were here today, that he'd be really proud and and happy with the work that we've done with the person that you've become
yeah,
today.
and I feel his loss did help, right?
Hmm.
Looking back, is that his loss did help. I
Hmm.
tried as much as possible to be like he was,
Hmm.
right? Or at least to have his set of standards or his goals or his morals,
Yeah.
right? Which like he would give his brand new shoes
Yeah.
to a friend
Yeah.
because his friend didn't want to wear the old shoes, and he was willing to give his brand new shoes and trade them.
Just give him
Yeah,
away.
give them away. He was willing to go across the street,
Right.
like, and when we were giving out food for the homeless. He didn't care if the guy was like all the way over there.
Yeah.
I saw somebody over there, and he would walk all the way over there to
Yeah.
give, and it's like he was always willing to help out at church, at school, everywhere,
For sure.
anybody to anybody. And I feel like that's a part of me that was engraved after his loss. It's like
Yeah.
I need to change, right?
For
Because
sure.
I wanna reflect that and
Hmm.
his loss not be, not that it's wasted, but it's like
Yeah.
his loss means something
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. That we live out those same values and principles
Yeah.
that he also held together. Awesome, babe. Well, thank you for being the first guest
Yeah.
ever. Hopefully, it's not the last time that you.
Like
Hopefully,
just
that's the last time that anyone sees me
cry.
cry,
Okay.
and yeah, and we can move on.
Tissues next time.
Yeah.
Now that's the podcast.
Yay! We're done. Oh gosh.
Okay, I